Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I remember now again the Prime Minister of Israel, Netanyahu, when he made his statement referring to the Palestinian Authority leadership. And he said something like this: they never missed an opportunity to miss an opportunity. That means, according to Netanyahu, that they made all the wrong moves. Each and every time when they had an opportunity, they didn't miss it to up. So this is what I see the United States doing, continuing to do in regards to Russia and China. Maybe they want this to happen, and I'm talking about the closeness between China and Russia is like this. It can't go deeper than that. You know what I mean? And it seems like instead of trying to diffuse that with this, I'm talking about the American leadership, they try using the same tools that they made this get closer and closer. And that is threatening, trying to boycott, maybe blackmail, with this kind of tough, with sanctions, threats, they're at the level of threats. And instead of China and Russia going like this, they got more together. Why? Because they realized, as any animal realizes, that if this guy is going to attack me alone and is a big dog, I'm probably going to lose. And the other person is going to say the same thing. But if we come together, maybe we have a chance. And I don't want to associate with someone who talks down to me and threatens me. Because guess what? If I'm going to try to join him, I'm going to join him who uses only this kind of language, this kind of behavior. So imagine I'm going away from this guy who would probably be my only chance to be independent and protect myself from this guy's verbal or whatever aggression, instead of jumping in his camp as a vassal state. Well, this is China and Russia. And instead of United States of America using a different kind of approach, at least now, towards China, because Russia is gone, Russia is lost. It's clear that that's done. But instead of trying to get China using a different method, they're going to use the same old. So they don't missing an opportunity every time. So this is an article that again proves this point, and the Americans continue doing what they're doing. This article comes from Reuters, and it is from February 3rd, 2023. So this was even before that stupid balloon was blown up. Even before. And this is the title: China says political trust with Russia has deepened after envoy's visit. So how do you think this trust is right now after the Americans? For good reason, I would say. I mean, actually, I can't say if it's good reason, because I don't know what the international law says about that. I don't know if that balloon at 60,000 feet altitude was within, international, because you have satellites that fly over your country and you don't shoot them down. So that's why I do not know exactly what is the level of, okay, this is our airspace from zero, from the sea level until what? And even not only the sea level, if you take the 12 miles, territorial waters, you can't be with a submarine within that either, so you go below. But anyway, in this case, I don't know what is the law regarding how high or how low can you allow yourself to be and not be considered that you are violating someone's territory, space, airspace, and so on. But nevertheless, the Americans shut it down after it completed its own mission. So another thing, I mean, they knew it was up after it just left China, went over South Korea, went over Japan, went over the Pacific Ocean, went over the Bering Strait. Then they went through over Alaska, went over Canada, over crossed in diagonal United States, and they shot it after it was done. It's unbelievable. Anyway, after all damage was done. So I don't know what to tell you about that one, but let's see how these guys are arguing that China's political trust with Russia has deepened after envoy's visit, right? All right, let's see. Shanghai. China said on Saturday that mutual political trust with Russia has continued to deepen after Vice Foreign Minister Ma Zhaosu visited the country this week and met with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. China is willing to work with Russia to implement their strategic partnership and promote further progress in their relationship, the foreign ministry also said in its statement. Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin announced strategic partnership in Moscow a year ago aimed at countering the influence of the United States and which they say would have no forbidden areas of cooperation. Ma also met with Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Andrei Rudenko and Sergei Vashinin during his February 2-3 visit. The statement said during his meetings, he exchanged views on bilateral and multilateral cooperation as well as international and regional issues of common concern. It added, the statement comes on the heels of heightened tension between China and the United States after the flight of a Chinese balloon over United States airspace. So this is according to Reuters. Washington has described it as a spy balloon, while China says it's an airship used for civilian meteorological and other scientific purposes. The uproar has led to the postponement of a visit to China by Secretary of State Antony Blinken that had been expected to start on Friday. The Foreign Ministry's statement about Ma's visit did not mention Ukraine, where Russia has waged a blah 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 blah. Russia's Foreign Minister Lavrov said on Thursday that Moscow's relations with China had no limits and, despite not being a formal military alliance, were of a much higher and broader nature. Do you think that Antony Blinken, his attitude going to Beijing would have been, hey, how are you doing? What's going on, man? Let's talk about this. Why are we having bad blood against us, huh? Come on, let's cut the crap. Bring the champagne. Let's talk, man. I mean, we can sort things out. Do you think that was the attitude? Or was one like, all right, sit down. Yeah, just to let you know, if you help Russia, you're gonna regret. We're gonna slap you with sanctions and more than that. So think twice, my man. I think the second one better reflected Blinken's attitude. And why is that? I read another article where United States, before this one, I said I'm going to make a video, but I said no, I'm going to use it in this one. United States warned China to help economically or help support Russia in any way or try to bypass the sanctions. Again, threats. And do you think that Blinken would have come to China to speak like, okay, man, let's see what's wrong with us? No. Still like that. And the Chinese have no reason to be afraid. What's going to happen? They got nuclear weapons, if we get to that, the nitty-gritty. Economically, I think if China says, okay, you want economic? Okay, let's stop. I think we are going to be before they are, because we are much higher than they are. So when we fall, we're going to have a bigger distance. They have a shorter distance. So they're probably going to get a bit of, Jesus Christ, but we're going to poof. Anyway, United States, in the past 15 years, instead of building relations with China, build relations with other guys around it and threaten China by its presence over there. Didn't try at all. In the meantime, when they ignored China, China forged more than a friendship with Russia. And the United States was like two kids. They're playing in the sandbox. Who cares, man? Who cares? Who cares now? And besides, on top of this, unfortunately for the United States' diplomacy, or should I say, lack of it, after 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, 1991, when it remained the sole power over this planet, really, superpower, instead of using it, in my assessment, for good, I think it used it for pushing everything down and take control of as many areas as it could and bully as many places without, with impunity. And that scared a lot of people, a lot of countries. So I don't think it was a unifier. I think it was a despot. That's my assessment. And I think I'm entitled to have it. Why and how? The evidence speaks for itself. You don't have to just look too far. You can look at its military interventions in certain areas, did whatever it wanted, did not have the authorization, for instance, for Yugoslavia bombardment, and what happened in Libya. And I don't want to hear the thing, it was the alliances. Because, in a group, if we as a group make a decision and we commit a bad thing, we will all be punished. Only in democracies doesn't work that way. You have a parliament or a senate or house makes a decision, you up the country, and then anything that happens is just you're going to be voted out. And the country is going to suffer for generations. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right. You can't just go scot-free after you, everybody. So in this case, unfortunately, as I said, after 1991, United States of America dropped the diplomacy of Kissinger and others to Madeleine Albright. And that is like this. 4 tools in the little red toolbox that United States has at this moment. And I mentioned this many times. Instead of having tact or diplomacy, intelligence, how do you call that? They call it charisma. No, they don't have that. As I said, no, they have this. They have the first tool out is threats. If those don't work, they up it to blackmails. And then if that doesn't work, you're going to have a little problem in your country with some groups that were going to start something, and maybe the will of the people will, get to topple a government, and that is a little bit of regime change. And if that doesn't work, that's the last option where you're going to say, hey, I think you are violating this or that human right. And I think, that group invited us to help them, so we have to help them. And we're going to go in militarily. Hey, who's coming with us? Everybody, right? Yeah, because I'm going to give you a piece of this here, a piece of here. And even if I don't give you anything, I'm going to use the first tool, threats. So there you go. And here we go again. And they've been using this for at least 30 years now. And with China, it seems like it's not going to work. With Russia, it didn't work. And I'm expecting with others not to work, because the second club is forming on the skeleton, if you want it, not skeleton, but on the foundation of Russia and China. As long as Russia doesn't collapse. If Russia collapses, it's going to be harder for China. But I think China is going to be next, and China knows it. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.